The theater lights dim slowly, and a quiet hush spreads across the massive America's Got Talent auditorium. Thousands of faces turn toward the stage as the announcer's voice echoes through the room, introducing the next act. From the shadows at the side of the stage, two figures emerge, one tall but slightly bent with age, the other small, young, and clutching a familiar hand. A Filipino grandfather and his grandson step forward together, moving carefully but with purpose, as if every step carries a lifetime of meaning. The grandfather walks slowly, not because he is weak, but because he is deliberate. His movements reflect years of labor, sacrifice, and responsibility. His hair is silver, his face lined with deep wrinkles that tell stories of hardship, resilience, and love. His clothes are simple, modest, and neatly pressed, nothing flashy, nothing meant to impress. Yet there is dignity in the way he carries himself, the kind that cannot be bought or taught. Beside him, his grandson grips his hand tightly, his small fingers wrapped around the larger, rougher hand that once protected him through storms both literal and emotional. The boy's eyes are wide as he looks around the vast theater. He has never seen anything like this, rows upon rows of people, bright lights hanging high above, cameras moving quietly on tracks, and a stage that feels bigger than any dream he has ever had. His heart pounds loudly in his chest. He is nervous, but there is something stronger than fear anchoring him in place: trust. He trusts the man beside him completely. This is the same hand that guided him across busy streets, wiped his tears when life felt unfair, and held him close during nights when the world outside their small home felt too heavy. As they reach the center of the stage, the audience begins to sense that this is not an ordinary act. There is no dramatic entrance, no loud music, no special effects. Just two generations standing together under the lights. The simplicity itself commands attention. A gentle murmur ripples through the crowd as people lean forward in their seats, instinctively feeling that they are about to witness something deeply human. Terry Crews steps forward with his warm smile, greeting them kindly. He asks their names, and the grandfather answers with a soft but steady voice, accented but clear. When asked about their relationship, the grandfather places a hand on his grandson's shoulder, his eyes briefly shining with emotion. He explains that the boy is not just his grandson, but his greatest blessing. After the loss of his son, spoken of carefully, without drama, this child became the light that gave him strength to keep going. Terry asks why they decided to audition together. The grandfather takes a breath, as if gathering decades of memories into a few sentences. He speaks of music, not as entertainment, but as survival. He tells how, back in the Philippines, life was often difficult. There were days without enough food, nights without certainty, and years filled with struggle. But there was always music. Songs sung quietly at home, during long walks, and in moments when words alone were not enough. Music, he says, helped them endure. The song they planned to sing is not famous internationally. It is a Filipino song passed down through their family, sung by his own parents before him. It is a song about love, loss, faith, and hope. A song that reminds them who they are and where they come from. He taught it to his grandson not to make him a singer, but to keep their story alive. The camera briefly cuts to the judges' table. Heidi Klum smiles softly, already emotionally invested. Sofia Vergara presses her hand to her chest, visibly touched by the bond in front of her. Howie Mandel nods with quiet respect. Simon Cowell watches closely, his usual guarded expression replaced by something more open, more curious. He leans slightly forward, sensing that this audition may be different from the thousands he has seen before. Simon asks a question, his voice calm but sincere. He wants to know what this moment means to them. The grandfather pauses, swallowing hard. He explains that standing on this stage is not about winning. It is about honoring the past and giving his grandson a future where he believes his voice matters. He wants the boy to know that their roots are something to be proud of, not something to hide. The grandson listens intently, his grip tightening just a little, as if absorbing every word. The boy is asked how he feels. He hesitates, then answers honestly. He says he is scared, but happy. Happy because he gets to sing with his grandfather, just like they do at home. The audience responds with gentle laughter and warm applause, moved by his innocence. As the conversation ends, the music cue is prepared. The grandfather closes his eyes for a brief moment, not in prayer exactly, but in remembrance. He remembers his parents' voices, the small home they once lived in, the long road that brought him here. He opens his eyes and looks down at his grandson, giving him a reassuring nod. The boy nods back, his fear slowly turning into determination. The lights shift subtly, softening, focusing attention entirely on them. The theater grows silent, no whispers, no movement, just anticipation hanging in the air. In that stillness, it becomes clear that this is more than an audition. It is a shared memory being created in real time, a bridge between generations, cultures, and hearts. With one final squeeze of his grandson's hand, the grandfather steps slightly forward. The first note is about to be sung, and before a single word leaves his mouth, the room already feels changed. A single, gentle note drifts through the theater as the music begins, soft, almost fragile, like a memory waking from sleep. The spotlight narrows, wrapping the grandfather and grandson in warm light, separating them from the vastness of the stage and turning their world into something intimate and sacred. The audience grows completely silent, the kind of silence that only happens when people are afraid to miss even a breath. The grandfather closes his eyes as the opening melody continues. When he begins to sing, his voice is low and trembling, not from weakness but from emotion held back for too many years. Each word in the Filipino language carries weight, stories of longing, of love given and lost, of prayers whispered during dark nights. Even those who do not understand the lyrics feel the meaning instantly. There is truth in his tone, a raw honesty that no vocal training can teach. His voice is imperfect, cracked in places, but that imperfection makes it powerful. It sounds like a man who has lived fully, who has worked with his hands, endured disappointment, and loved deeply. As he sings, his face shifts between calm and pain, as if the song is pulling memories from deep within him. The camera captures a tear forming in the corner of his eye, catching the stage light before slowly falling. The audience begins to react almost immediately. A woman in the front row presses her hand to her mouth, overwhelmed. Somewhere in the darkness, someone quietly sobs. This is not just a performance, it feels like a confession, a story offered without protection. The judges sit frozen, listening intently, their expressions soft and unguarded. Then, at just the right moment, the grandson steps forward and begins to sing. His voice is clear, gentle, and pure, cutting through the emotional weight like a beam of light. Where the grandfather's voice carries the past, the boy's voice carries the future. The contrast is breathtaking. Their voices blend naturally, not forced, not rehearsed into perfection, but connected by something deeper than music, blood, memory, and love. The boy looks up at his grandfather as he sings, his eyes full of trust. The grandfather opens his eyes and looks back, his expression shifting from sorrow to pride. Their harmony grows stronger with each line, filling the theater with a sound that feels both old and new at the same time. The Filipino melody flows gently, rising and falling like waves, wrapping the audience in its warmth. As the song continues, the emotions spread through the room. People who came expecting entertainment now find themselves confronting their own memories, grandparents they miss, songs from childhood, moments they wish they could relive. The music reaches places words alone cannot touch. Even those unfamiliar with Filipino culture feel the universal message of family and legacy. The camera cuts to the judges. Sofia Vergara's eyes glisten with tears, her smile trembling. Heidi Klum presses her lips together, visibly emotional. Howie Mandel nods slowly, his usual humor replaced by quiet respect. Simon Cowell leans forward, elbows on the table, his eyes fixed on the stage. His expression is intense, vulnerable, as if the song has caught him off guard. The song begins to build. The music swells slightly, and the grandfather's voice grows stronger, fueled by the presence of his grandson beside him. He straightens his posture, singing with renewed confidence. The boy follows, his voice rising with courage, no longer nervous, no longer afraid. In this moment, he is not a child on a massive stage, he is a partner, an equal, carrying the song forward. The harmony reaches a powerful peak. The grandfather places a gentle hand on his grandson's shoulder as they hold a long, emotional note together. The sound fills every corner of the auditorium, vibrating through the seats, into the hearts of everyone listening. Time seems to slow. No one moves. No one breathes. As the final lines approach, the music softens again, returning to where it began. The grandfather sings the closing words almost like a whisper, his voice breaking slightly. The grandson joins him for the final note, holding it steady, strong, and full of hope. Their voices fade together, perfectly aligned, leaving behind a silence that feels heavy and holy. For a brief moment after the song ends, there is no applause. Just stillness. The kind of stillness that follows something truly meaningful. The grandfather lowers his head, overwhelmed, while the boy squeezes his hand, smiling through tears. Then the audience rises. The applause erupts like a wave, loud, unstoppable, and filled with emotion. People stand, clapping above their heads, some crying openly, others cheering through tears. The grandfather pulls his grandson into a tight embrace, both of them shaking with emotion. On stage, under the bright lights, surrounded by strangers, they share a private moment that feels eternal. And in that moment, it becomes clear, this was not just a song. It was a bridge between generations, a love letter to family, and a reminder of why music exists at all.